'Tis the season for toffee! It's about that time of year that the smell of candy and pine needles fills your home. Toffee has been a holiday favorite for many years now and flies off the shelves in candy stores nationwide. Although toffee from candy stores is quite a treat, it is even more delicious when it is homemade. It is very simple and easy to make. All you need is pecans, butter, brown sugar, and semi-sweet chocolate morsels. Now let's go over the ingredients. The pecans are crushed and used as a base layer for the candy. In the final stage of making the candy, pecans can also be added as a top layer to add crunch to the candy. The pecans can be left out of the recipe, and it is up to you as to whether they are included or not. The butter is used as a flavoring and thickener for the candy. Without the butter in the recipe, the toffee would not thicken and it would simply be a browning reaction. With the butter, it is now a Maillard reaction, due to the proteins that are now incorporated into the candy. In some recipes, white sugar is added with vanilla to make the toffee sweet and a brown color. However, in our toffee, we use brown sugar, which adds sweetness to the toffee, as well as adding brown color. Semi-sweet chocolate morsels are added on the top of the toffee after it has reached a boil of 295 degrees. When the morsels are added, they melt due to the high temperature of the toffee. Now that we have the ingredients covered, let's dive into the process of making the toffee. First, obtain a large glass cake pan, preferably 9 by 13 inches, and butter the bottom and sides so the candy will not stick. Then put 1/4 a cup of pecans into a grinder so that it creates pecan bits. Make sure not to overcrush the pecans or they will turn into a powder and lose their texture. Sprinkle the pecans onto the bottom of the cake pan lightly. Do not use all of the pecan bits because some need to be saved for the final step of the candy making process. Then in a large metal saucepan, melt 2 sticks or 1 cup of butter. Melt the butter over medium heat and keep it at this temperature throughout the process. Make sure to stir the butter or else it will burn and stick to the saucepan. Once the butter is completely melted, add 1 cup of firmly packed light brown sugar. It is important to make sure that the sugar is densely packed so that no excess air is in the measuring cup. Add the sugar in the saucepan and mix with the butter using a wooden spoon. It is very important at this point to continuously stir the mixture or else it will burn and stick. At first you will see a separation of the sugar and butter, but when you continuously stir the 2 ingredients together, they will become incorporated as one. Sometimes, if the toffee is not handled properly during the melting process, the butter can separate from the sugar and form an oily layer on the top of the candy. To avoid this, try to maintain a consistent and even temperature throughout the candy making process. Also, separation can occur when using thinly lined saucepans because the conduction of heat is inefficient when compared to a heavy saucepan. Using a candy thermometer, monitor the heat of the mixture. It should steadily rise to 295 degrees. On a candy thermometer, it marks the temperatures needed to achieve different types of cracked candy. As you stir the mixture, you will notice that it will start to bubble. Still continue to stir the mixture. The bubbles get bigger as the heat rises. Also, the mixture will begin to thicken and become more dense while stirring. Now when using the wooden spoon, when you lift it out, the mixture will drip in thick, long strands of the mixture. When the candy reaches 295 degrees, which is hard cracked candy according to the candy thermometer, the toffee should have an extremely thick consistency and should almost be a ball-like solid. Once it reaches this temperature, it is important to immediately get the mixture into the pecan-covered cake pan so as to not let the butter and sugar separate and cool. Then, evenly distribute the mixture over the cake pan. Then add a 1/2 cup of semi-sweet morsels over the toffee evenly. It is important to add the morsels quickly after the toffee was added into the cake pan so the morsels melt and are easy to spread. Once you notice the chocolate has melted somewhat, use a rubber spatula to spread them so you have an evenly chocolate-covered sheet of candy. Then add the remaining pecans over the chocolate evenly. Allow the candy to cool and then put plastic wrap over the pan and chill it in the refrigerator overnight. The next morning, the candy will be hard, so you can chop it into small pieces for you to share with your friends and family. A perfect and easy holiday treat.